It looks terrible. The public was told for years that the elite infrastructure of the world's most notorious operation vanished overnight in a Manhattan prison cell. But a massive 3.5 million page avalanche of newly declassified data released under the Epstein Files Transparency Act proves otherwise. The official narrative just completely shattered. This wasn't a one-man show, and it didn't end with a single headline. According to these newly exposed files, the operation didn't collapse, it was passed to a new set of hands. While the public looks at the names desperately trying to scrub themselves from the flight logs, the digital paper trail reveals that the real network is still very much active. The reality of how deep this goes is something major commentators like Joe Rogan have been aggressively pulling apart. Rogan recently pointed out a dark, institutional truth. You don't build a multi-million-dollar, decades-long international operation that compromises the world's most powerful politicians, celebrities, and scientists just to have it evaporate when one public face goes missing. The system was designed to survive. It was built as an intelligence honeypot, a tool designed to trap elites in highly compromising positions so they could be controlled from the shadows. And if you think this type of structured, high-level exploitation is a modern phenomenon, the historical blueprints tell a much different story.
Look back to 1940, when Disney released the classic film Pinocchio. Generations of children watched a sequence that left a deep, unsettling feeling in their stomachs. In the infamous Pleasure Island scene, a shadowy, sinister coachman gathers stupid, disobedient little boys from the streets, promising them a land with no rules, no school, and endless vice. But the dark twist comes when the fox hesitates, realizing the sheer illegality of the plan, and the coachman leans in with a terrifying grin, whispering that they never come back as boys. They are transformed, stripped of their humanity, and sold into back-breaking manual labor and exploitation. Mainstream analysts try to claim it's a simple moral lesson about staying in school, but a deeper look suggests the writers in 1940 weren't just inventing a fantasy. They were describing a system of trafficking that has existed in the high halls of global power for centuries. And that brings us directly to how a figure like Jeffrey Epstein managed to operate out in the open for so long. He wasn't a self-made financial wizard. Back in the 1980s, he was caught dead center in the massive Towers financial collapse, the largest Ponzi scheme in American history at the time. His business partner was thrown behind bars for decades, but somehow Epstein skated away completely untouched. He was a construct. He was financed by hidden forces, moving billions of dollars through the U.S. Virgin Islands without ever facing real prosecution. High-level mathematicians who met him noted that he was constantly nerd fishing, using beautiful women as bait to trap the world's leading scientists, tech billionaires, and thinkers into his circle.
The closer you look at the timeline, the more terrifying the details become. The day after he was officially indicted, a bizarre and chilling order was processed for his private island, Little St. James. 6 massive 55-gallon drums of industrial-grade sulfuric acid were ordered to be delivered immediately. Online apologists quickly tried to cover for the shipment, claiming the acid was a standard chemical requirement for the island's water desalination plant. But investigative sleuths dug through historical shipping manifests and found something alarming. This massive quantity of corrosive acid had never been ordered to the island before. The timing was impeccable. Right as the legal walls were closing in, a massive supply of an agent capable of utterly destroying organic material and human remains was rushed to the compound. The trail gets even darker when you look at the declassified servers. Among the millions of pages released by the Department of Justice are unredacted 2018 emails that lay out the explicit nature of the network. In one shocking exchange, a woman mentions a researcher working on a project about a figure who actively secures children to be sent directly to a private island. The response from the account was chillingly direct, explicitly stating, "That person is me." There is no room for interpretation, no legal gray area. Yet, despite having these messages on federal servers for years, a massive double standard occurred. When the Justice Department finally started publishing the files, they aggressively redacted the names of powerful figures while leaving the identities of the actual victims exposed to the public.
This brings us to the modern elite who are currently trapped in the fallout. Take Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who recently faced an intense closed-door grilling by the House Oversight Committee regarding his long-term ties to the network. Lutnick had spent a year on the public media circuit spinning a highly righteous damage control narrative, claiming that after seeing a massage table and candles during a brief tour of Epstein's home in 2005, him and his wife vowed never to be in the room with that disgusting person again. But the newly declassified emails and travel records completely blew that story apart. The receipts show that Lutnick didn't walk away. He had a lengthy engagement at the house years later, and his family even flew out to the private island for lunch. But the most dangerous aspect of this ongoing shadow network is what happens to the people who try to break the silence. Whistleblowers have faced an incredibly high casualty rate. Virginia Giuffre was one of the very first survivors to bravely step forward, providing photographic proof connecting royal figures like Prince Andrew directly to the operation. Shortly before her tragic, sudden passing in Western Australia, she took to social media to leave a glaring warning for the world. She explicitly posted that she was in no way, shape, or form thinking of ending her own life, noting that too many evil people wanted to see her quieted, and begged her followers not to let the story go if something happened to her. Weeks later, after surviving a highly suspicious incident where she was struck by a heavy vehicle, her life came to an abrupt end.
The pressure from Giuffre's testimony combined with the 2026 data dumps has completely destabilized the highest institutions in the world, sending the British royal family into absolute turmoil. Members of the monarchy are now being publicly heckled at global summits, forced to answer brutal questions about how deeply the crown was involved. It turns out that taking out the public figurehead didn't destroy the operation, it simply forced the real players to retreat deeper into the dark.